Lake Chad is a lentic endorheic lake in a semi-arid climate in Africa. It has become a leading source for drinking water, irrigation, and food for over 17 million people. Over the last 40 years, desertification, climate change, overfishing, and poor irrigation techniques have drastically altered the size and overall quality of the lake. Anthropogenic impacts are not the only influences Lake Chad faces. There are also natural environmental factors such as evaporation, geochemical, and decreases in rainfall. Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria are the four bordering countries of Lake Chad, and in 1964 the Lake Chad Basin Commission was created to regulate and control the water use and other natural resources. The Lake Chad Basin Commission also hopes that through regulation and control there will come more interest in natural resource development projects and research. With an absence of working regulations and standards for environmental protection, water pollution and eutrophication is occurring through the use of large quantities of agrochemicals. Increasing exploitation of oil in Chad, growth in urbanization, and oil spills are also contributing to a rise in water pollution. Fishing is one of the few main industries for the surrounding villages of Lake Chad. With the lake's water levels continuously dropping and an increasing number of people fishing on the lake, there is now a vast decrease in fish population and variety of species. With the water level so low, a thick layer of riparian vegetation has taken over, increasing the turbidity and lowering oxygen levels, as well giving the fish more places to hide. Ultimately, this has resulted in lower fishing yields and difficulty for the boats to pass through. Fishermen are finding it hard to support their families as their nets are continuously coming up empty and more are moving on to farming. The Lake Chad Basin Commission was joined in 1994 and aims to regulate and control the use of water and other natural resources in the basin and to initiate, promote, and coordinate natural resource development projects and research. Their main objectives are to improve the quantity and quality of water in the Lake Chad Basin and to restore, conserve, and implement sustainable use of its bioresources. Also, they hope to conserve the biodiversity in the Lake Chad Basin and to restore and preserve its ecosystems. Lastly, the Lake Chad Basin Commission hopes to strengthen participation and capacity of stakeholders and institutional and legal frameworks for environmental stewardship in the Lake Chad Basin. It is through a system of dikes that the lake's water is pumped to irrigate 12,000 hectares of clay-arid farmland. With an increase in poor water management and irrigation techniques, such as the slash and burn method, Lake Chad's biggest problem has become desertification. The current systems installed are now suffering from vanishing water levels as well as poor maintenance. Canals have now fully dried up and the pumps no longer work from old age and desperately need repairs. The hydraulic systems need to be updated as well. Lake Chad's surface area has significantly decreased due to the lack of overall quality and longevity of the provided technology.
Lake Chad has unique bathymetry. It has two distinct regions, one being the northern, which was affected far worse by desertification, salinity, and sedimentation when compared to the south. The southern region has shallow waters on the verge of inability for wildlife. Evaporation is a major source for impact on the quantity of water volume. It can reach rates of 2,300 milliliters a year. In light of the high rates of evaporation, Lake Chad has low levels of salinity in the southern basin because of the higher saline waters sinking and channeling through the underground tunnels, which lead to the north. To look at the percentages of water loss due to evaporation, a more broad view of overall budgets of the lake must be taken into account. Lake Chad obtains approximately 95% of its water supply from the Chari River, and the Yobe River supplies the remainder of the fluvial input. The water loss from the lake is mainly by evaporation, resulting in an increase of conductivity. Much of the sodium, potassium, and magnesium of this lake discharged to the northern waters of Lake Chad. Unfortunately, this has caused the lake to be more susceptible to water loss. It creates a great issue for those who live in the northern region, as their water from the irrigation line will no longer flow. This is due to the inadequate amount of rainfall in the 1990s and a drought lasting 20 years before that. When comparing the conditions of Lake Chad today to the status of it in the 1960s, it is evident that there are vast differences when compared to the present. In the 1960s, Lake Chad was at an elevation of 282 meters above sea level, with an average turnover period of 1.2 years. The maximum depth was roughly 5.5 meters in the northern basin and 3.5 meters in the southern. Today, Lake Chad sits at an elevation of 286 meters, with a mean depth of only 1.5 meters. Main economic activities in the Lake Chad Basin range from fishing, hunting, and agriculture. Because fishing is a heavy operation among the major countries surrounding the basin, over 150,000 anglers live on the shores. This is no surprise that since the 1970s, there has been a decrease in fish stock that has been quite drastic. Many, though, have chosen a separate lifestyle of raising cattle, sheep, and camels as a source of economic income. Those who choose to raise livestock tend to continue to move closer to the lake during dry season, and because of the drastic loss of water in the area, have been forced to remain near the lakes to have access to the fresh water. With the change in the environment, a change in the herd from grazing to browsing animals has caused adverse effects on the vegetation due to the consumption of woody plants by the selected animals. The fresh water and large land are a central area for many herders and others looking to create new income. With the combination of freshwater overfishing and the grazing of the nearby land, detrimental outcomes are unavoidable. Although Lake Chad is a closed basin with an arid zone, there is no limestone in the watersheds, and the river water carries a low ionic load. This causes biogeochemical sedimentation in the lake, reducing salts by over 45%. With the considerable infiltration, the salts leach from the lake, especially in the northern pool. Sedimentation also affects how the macrophytes help to regulate the potassium and silicates for plant growth.
The adverse ecological effects taking place at Lake Chad have been closely researched and monitored over a 50-year period. Many natural and anthropogenic factors have accounted for the shrinkage of the lake's water supply and overall quality, ultimately resulting in an environmental catastrophe. The total ecology of this now wetland environment has been impacted by improper irrigation practices, climate change, sedimentation, urbanization, and many other factors. Implementing stewardship and education in environmental sustainability is one of the most important factors for the protection and preservation of Lake Chad.